Get ready for a tense and exhilarating hunt where every second is a battle of wits with the untamed wilderness. In this video, we'll take you through dense forests and endless open fields, facing fierce wild boars in heart-pounding ambushes. The rifles are loaded, hunting instincts are alive, so let's begin the journey. Our journey starts deep in the forest, where sunlight filters through thick canopies, casting mysterious shadows. Every step must be cautious, for even the faintest noise could send the prey fleeing. This is not just a sanctuary for wildlife, it's a battlefield that tests both intellect and hunting skill. We began tracking in the western forest. Hidden among the thick foliage of the old-growth woods, every sense was on high alert. Suddenly, a dark blur shot through the leaves. Instinct kicked in. I quickly raised my rifle, took careful aim, and squeezed the trigger. The shot thundered through the forest. The target collapsed instantly, ending a tense pursuit. Wasting no time, I chambered another round, eyes sharp, scanning the forest for the next hunt. In the nearby forest, my teammate John was also zeroed in on his target. A boar was attempting to slip away, weaving through the dense undergrowth in search of cover. John raised his rifle, locked the target in his sights, and held steady. The gunshot shattered the silence. The bullet tore through the air like an arrow in the wind, deadly accurate. The beast dropped instantly, unable to resist. I let out a breath of relief as the forest returned to its natural stillness. Then the hounds were unleashed, darting like arrows through the thick woods. They picked up the scent quickly, skillfully driving the prey toward us. My hunting instincts surged. The first shot was a feint, bait to lure the target in. Then, out of nowhere, a massive shadow charged. I gripped my rifle firmly and fired. Boom! The boar collapsed, lifeless, and silence returned to the forest. In less than a minute, the beast had been brought down. Here, the rule is simple. Hunt or be hunted, there is no third option. Leaving the dense jungle behind, we headed toward a vast open field where the boars had been quietly hiding. They had treated the rice paddies like a banquet table, tearing up farmland and rooting through the young crops. The rifles were ready, the radios were live, every piece of gear prepared. The hunt was on. Standing in the middle of the wide field, I lined up my sights on the prey. My heart pounded, but the boar's carelessness gave me my shot. The bullet exploded from the barrel, cutting through the air, striking the target square in the body. It dropped instantly, another threat neutralized. This shot wasn't just about restoring peace to the countryside. It was a clear warning to the destroyers. There will be no second chances. The next target entered my sights. Across the field, a pack of aggressive boars was tearing through the crops. The distance was long, enough to make the difference between success and failure. I held my breath, steadied the rifle, and aimed. Time seemed to freeze. And then boom. The bullet screamed through the air, the sound of the shot echoing across the fields. The boar stumbled, then collapsed. Another trophy for the day. Tonight's feast would be a grand one, especially after a long, exhausting hunt. From a patch of grass nearby, I checked my tracker. There it was. The boar wandered the field, unaware that death was closing in. I locked the target in my crosshairs, ready to deliver the final verdict. The animal kept moving, but I didn't falter. I took a deep breath, held my aim, and fired. The bullet flew like a divine arrow, striking the target square in the head. Headshot. The boar dropped instantly. Behind that shot lay a hunter's duty to protect. This hunt wasn't just a game of instinct, it was a matter of survival for the locals, a safeguard for the land and the harvest. Today's chase ended in pure adrenaline. From the harsh depths of the forest to the open fields, nothing could stop the hunter's determination. Every gunshot wasn't just the end of the hunt, it was a powerful declaration. Here, humans still hold the line between peace and chaos.
Recently, the southern region of the United States has been flooded with signs of wild boars. They uproot the land, break tree trunks, and leave deep muddy tracks in the still damp red soil. We couldn't let this destruction continue, so we decided to organize a hunt, not only to protect the land and crops, but also to eliminate these natural destroyers known as the beasts of the wild. Will today's hunt bring the results we hope for? What surprises await us in the silent wilderness? Join us and find out now. We started climbing the mountain at dawn while the sky was still faintly lit. The steep, slippery terrain made progress challenging, but the team maintained a steady pace. Once we reached the high point, we quickly checked our guns, ammo, and gear. Each person spread out in different directions, staying connected through walkie-talkies and signal lights. The hunt officially begins. As I was moving along a narrow slope between two rocky outcrops, suddenly a noise erupted from the bushes ahead. Before I could even signal, a jet-black wild boar burst out, heavy in body but astonishingly fast. I immediately raised my rifle and aimed straight at its shoulder. The shot rang out. The beast faltered for a few steps, then collapsed, writhing briefly before falling still. A few hundred meters away, a teammate was facing a giant beast of his own. It didn't run but slowly advanced, as if ready to attack. Without hesitation, he took careful aim and fired. The gunshot echoed through the forest. The wild boar instantly leapt up, writhing in pain before collapsing onto the rocky ground. This place seemed to be a regular path for the wild boars, so finding them wasn't difficult. As we were discussing our ambush positions, suddenly, from the nearby bushes, another boar burst. Not letting it escape, he quickly spun around and squeezed the trigger just as the beast flashed past the muzzle. The bullet struck its hip, causing it to stagger a few steps before collapsing on the sloped ground, groaning in pain before falling completely still. After that takedown, we continued moving down the mountainside. Suddenly, the sharp barks of hunting dogs echoed ahead, signaling the presence of prey. The team immediately quickened their pace to close in. From the forest edge, 2 wild boars suddenly burst out. I took a quick aim and pulled the trigger. One was hit and dropped instantly. The other, terrified, fled desperately into the woods. Determined not to let the prey escape, we immediately gave chase and quickly spotted hurried footprints pressed into the damp earth. Suddenly, the beast darted right past us. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle and took a split-second shot. The gunshot echoed as the bullet struck its hip, sending it crashing to the ground. After taking down the prey, we scanned the surroundings. Signs indicated the herd had likely scattered down into the forest, a lower area dense with trees ripe for destruction. Without hesitation, the team decided to move on and continue the tracking. No surprise there. In less than 5 minutes, a wild boar suddenly appeared, charging wildly through the low bushes ahead. Wasting no time, I swiftly raised my rifle and fired instinctively. The shot echoed sharply through the sparse forest. The beast staggered a few steps before collapsing onto the ground. The moment the shot rang out, the entire forest seemed to tremble. Immediately, another wild boar burst out from nearby bushes, panic-stricken and desperate to escape. Not letting it get far, I quickly swung my rifle around and fired again. The bullet struck its back, sending the beast tumbling down with no chance to fight back. After hours of relentless pursuit, we decided to withdraw, following the trail back to the rendezvous point. Suddenly, a large wild boar appeared just a few dozen meters ahead. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle and fired in an instant. The prey was hit and completely subdued. An unexpected ending to today's intense hunting journey. All the prey in today's hunt were taken down cleanly within legal limits and in full compliance with the hunting regulations in this area. Not only did we help protect the crops, but we also eliminated many potential threats to the local communities.
As darkness slowly descends, this place does not sink into its usual silence. The monsters have returned, gigantic wild boars rampaging through everything in their path. Our patience has reached its limit. We quickly assemble, weapons ready, nerves stretched tight. A breathless showdown is about to unfold. Watch now to witness this unprecedented, intense battle. Not only are their numbers increasing, but wild boars are becoming more aggressive. They no longer just destroy crops, they are willing to attack humans. In 2019, in Italy, a 77-year-old hunter was gored to death by a wild boar while hunting. The beast charged out of the underbrush and attacked him without warning. This story serves as a stark reminder for those of us venturing into hunts like these. We must always remain cautious. In the vast wilderness where these monstrous creatures dwell, anything can happen. As soon as we arrived and took our positions, a wild boar suddenly charged down the hillside. It tried to escape, but my quick reflexes allowed me to pull the trigger in time. The gunshot echoed, and in an instant, the dark figure collapsed, motionless in the vast jungle. After securing our first success, I headed towards my teammates to continue the intense battle. From a distance, chaotic sounds echoed, the relentless barking of dogs mixed with the enraged growls of wild boars. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, but the wounded boar refused to surrender. It went berserk, dashing away in an attempt to escape the encirclement. Under the relentless pressure of the hunting dogs and our tight formation, the wild boars became panicked and disoriented. Gunfire erupted from all sides, and one by one, the beasts fell. Tears of triumph erupted among our team, a thrilling hunt, gripping to the very last second. Following the guidance of a local, we moved toward another hill. Spreading out along the gentle slopes, we quickly blocked off every possible escape route for the boars. From my position, I spotted a wild boar dashing right in front of me. A swift strike was executed. With a single gunshot, the boar was taken down in an instant. The distant barking of dogs signaled that the prey was near. I immediately took my stance, prepared for the showdown. Under relentless pursuit from the dogs, the wild boar was forced into a vulnerable position. It desperately turned back, searching for an escape route, but two decisive shots ended all hope. Elsewhere, gunshots continued to echo. Every well-aimed shot meant another fallen boar. Dark figures of all sizes, from smaller juveniles to massive adults, lay scattered across the hunting ground, marking a highly successful pursuit. A strong start had the entire team excited as we climbed higher towards the hilltop. From the hillside, we observed dark figures darting through the tree cover. They were not running in panic, rather, they were heading toward the mountain peak, where the dense forest could serve as a natural shield. One wrong move, and the entire herd could disappear from our sights. We held our positions, ready, but not hasty in pulling the trigger. Suddenly, a wild boar charged right in front of me. Without hesitation, I fired, taking it down instantly. Sensing danger, the wild boars turned and scattered in all directions. But this time, we were ready. My comrades swiftly tightened the perimeter. Gunfire erupted in quick succession, echoing through the vast jungle. The hunt had entered its most thrilling phase. Another heart-pounding pursuit was playing out on the other side of the hill. The hunters' shouts of excitement blended with the pounding of their hearts. Everyone was laser-focused, determined not to miss a single shot, nor let any prey get away. Guns were raised, locked onto their targets, resolute in bringing home victory. With each passing second, the hunt became even more intense. We had protected the villagers, safeguarded the crops, and ensured the community's safety. And I knew that no matter how tough the challenges ahead, we would always be ready to face them and fight for what was right. Thank you all for following this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.
At my house, every time it gets dark, strange sounds from deep in the forest make us shiver. Those are the sounds of wild boars, uninvited vandals, constantly destroying my family's small garden. Today, a few friends and I have planned to go hunting at night in a nearby wild valley. What will we get from this hunting trip? Join me on this dramatic and crazy journey. Late in the afternoon, we drove into the valley, following a small dirt road full of rocks and gravel, eroded by the rain last night, making the journey more difficult. Before us was a peaceful scene of green pastures, herds of zebras and ostriches wandering around looking for food. The sky gradually darkened. A heavy air seemed to signal an upcoming thunderstorm. But that did not shake our determination. It was not until around 7:30 p.m. when the thick darkness covered the forest. The first wild boars began to appear. They were impressive in size, with thick dark grey fur and a characteristic long snout, always alert to strange noises around. In the drizzling rain, we quietly watched the pigs approach the trap and cautiously begin their meal, waiting for the right moment. I quickly opened fire on the pig in the most favorable position. The gunshots made the pigs panic and scatter everywhere. Immediately adjusted our guns and continued to search for targets in the darkness of the forest. Another pig slowly stepped out of the bushes. I pulled the trigger. The gunshot made it collapse on the spot. This night's hunt was really crazy. The rain made things more difficult, but we persisted, determined to take down the prey that had entered our sights.
2.
Fortunately, the rain quickly stopped, leaving the air cool and quiet. We decided to move to another location, a large grassland nearby. In the pitch black night, the herd of cows was resting, creating a peaceful scene. Not long after, we discovered something unexpected. Did you see it? Not just one, but many giant wild boars, standing crowded among the herds of cows. These wild boars can weigh up to 200 kg, and with their ferocious nature, they are not afraid to face other species. I aimed at the largest wild boar, held the gun tightly and pulled the trigger, and took down the other pigs one by one. With each shot, we had to focus on shooting accurately, making sure to take down as many pigs as possible. Crowded herds of pigs panicked and ran away, making aiming more difficult. At the same time, we also had to be careful not to accidentally shoot the herd of cows. When the hunt ended, the ground was full of shot pigs, scattered everywhere. We quickly collected the spoils, lined up to take inventory. Although we had taken down many pigs, the number of pigs that escaped was still very large, making us feel regretful. Our goal did not stop there. Determined to hunt bigger wild boars, we climbed onto the truck bed, looking out into the distance for prey. One of the weapons I had carefully prepared was a loudspeaker that emitted a special sound. The realistic sound from the loudspeaker not only made the pigs curious, but also attracted them closer. Look! A wild boar was quickly weaving through the grass, coming towards us. It was huge, with dark skin and fur, its eyes glowing red under the light, although a little wary. Curiosity made it continue to move towards us. When it was within ideal distance, I fired the first shot, aiming straight at its head. However, the wild boar did not fall. The second and third shots rang out in succession. I still struggled and tried to run away. It was not until the fifth shot that I was able to completely take down the prey. The spoils of war made us extremely excited.
Kidding me? What?
It seemed that this hunting experiment was more successful than expected, as not only the sound but also the light from the headlights attracted more pigs. We continued to ambush, taking down a few more, all of which were attracted by the sound I made. This was truly a new and exciting night hunting experience I had ever had. It was late at night, but we still persisted in ambushing, determined to take down a few more wild pigs. Giant black shadows were leisurely foraging in the field, accidentally entering our sights. Once I had aimed at a target, I quickly opened fire. The loud gunshots frightened the pigs and they ran away. However, our group of hunters did not let them escape. We all carefully adjusted our guns, trying to take down the entire herd of pigs.
Hey, what you got, bud?
The accurate shots helped us take down many large pigs, which was a great achievement. On a quiet night, we worked tirelessly to kill the pigs, contributing to minimizing the damage they caused to the farmers in the area. However, as the night grew late, fatigue gradually set in. We realized that it was time to end the hunt. Gunshots gradually faded away, and perhaps the pigs were too scared to come back. The hunt ended with a proud result, bringing us the joy of a successful night of hunting. The last gunshots fell silent, and the countryside returned to its usual quiet. Despite the difficulties and challenges. Our teamwork and perseverance helped us achieve our goal. It was truly a memorable experience. Crazy but fun night. Thank you for following and see you on the next journey.
I am a farmer in South Texas where corn and soybean fields stretch out endlessly. But behind the peaceful facade lies a war that few people see. The war with feral pigs. Feral pigs have long been a vicious invasive species, destroying crops, digging up soil, and confronting hunters when cornered. In recent years, I have learned to become a hunter, not out of passion, but for a living. The war is often fought with traps and guns. The trap I chose was a corral trap, a circular trap with a trapdoor made from wire mesh panels about 1.5 meters high. Inside, we baited it with corn mixed with fat and wine, which wild boars particularly love. They can't resist the smell. To effectively trap wild boars, we need to set the traps several days in advance so that the wild boars are not alert. To effectively trap wild boars, you need to install surveillance cameras to capture the wild boar's activity time. After many times approaching the corn bait without encountering danger, more wild boars will appear. Through the camera, we know the time and number of wild boars entering the trap. We can remotely control the trap to trigger and capture the prey. Early in the morning, we moved to the trap location to harvest wild boars. Although we knew in advance that there were many wild boars in the trap, we still felt nervous when facing them. As we approached the trap, the wild boars panicked and rushed at the bars, growling and trying to break through the cage. We did not shoot them immediately, but looked around, making sure that the wild boars did not fall into the trap. When we saw no danger around, we aimed and killed each wild boar. Each accurate shot took down the wild boar immediately, ending it quickly. That was the moral rule we set, which was not to let them suffer for long. To get a quick and clean shot, we needed to aim precisely at the head and chest. After killing these wild boars, we loaded them onto the truck. The wild boars were so heavy that my whole body almost swayed. These wild boars would be processed to make full use of them. Nothing would be wasted. After bringing the wild boars back from the traps, we returned to the guardhouse on the south side, where the barley fields and the wild woods met. This was where the pigs often came out at midday to find water. I hid on the high watchtower, my gun ready, my eyes fixed on the binoculars. Around 11 a.m., a herd of wild boars appeared. I took a breath, adjusted my scope. At a distance of 50 meters, I aimed at the leader and pulled the trigger. The explosion rang out in the silence, causing the remaining herds to scatter. The one that was shot staggered, but still ran away. I slid down to the hut, followed the tracks, and found the wild boar, collapsed about 100 meters from the hut. While waiting, we moved closer to the farm area where the terrain was flat and wild boars often appeared in large herds. In the blazing sun, I could clearly smell the scent of soil, grass, and wild boar mixed together. I held the gun firmly in my hand. As soon as the wild boar appeared, I pulled the trigger. Thanks to the accurate shot and good vision, we continued to kill a few more wild boars. Although we hunted a lot of wild boar, we were not very excited because this was not a recreation hunt. The goal was to prevent wild boar infestation and limit their population. All wild boars hunted will be transported by us to the staging area. After inventory, they will be sent to local slaughterhouses. Hunting wild boars in the U.S. is not only a farmer's act of humanity. Traps help me take the initiative, guns help me finish quickly, but the most important thing is still the heart, cold enough to pull the trigger, warm enough to remember that every fallen animal is the flesh and blood of this land. Our journey of hunting wild boars with traps and guns has ended. How do you feel about today's video? Leave your comments below to let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest notifications.
The Rio Grande Valley, with its dense terrain and abundant water sources, is the perfect habitat for wild boars to thrive. That's why this place is always a hotspot for thrilling night hunts. I came here not just to challenge myself, but to face off against some of the fiercest beasts in the southern United States. Join us as we begin this intense journey. Early in the morning, we arrived at the hunting site. All team members quickly checked their weapons before officially entering the battle. It didn't take long before we were met with a tense scene. A whole herd of wild boars of all sizes suddenly dashed across the trail ahead. We immediately released the hunting dogs to surround them and quietly moved in. As we got closer, the only female hunter in the team locked onto a target and fired. But the boar was too fast, causing the first shot to miss. Not letting it escape, I quickly chased after it, cutting off its path and fired a single shot. Fortunately, it was strong enough to bring the boar down shortly after. Silently hiding, we waited with the patience of seasoned hunters. Before long, the wild boar unexpectedly appeared in our sights. In a good position, I immediately pulled the trigger and fired multiple shots. But the tough creature kept running. I quickly gave chase and ended the pursuit with a decisive final shot. Fueled by success, the team climbed straight up the hill ahead. Beneath the thick canopy of old trees, a wild boar suddenly dashed past. I didn't hesitate, fired with confidence. The shot landed, causing the boar to tumble several times down the slope before lying still. We continued scanning and soon spotted another group of wild boars. Tracking the trail, I chased the boar all the way to the grassy field below. Just as it paused for a brief moment, I seized the opportunity, pulled the trigger, and brought the chase to a swift end. On the way back, a wild boar suddenly appeared. I immediately jumped out of the vehicle, gun in hand, and positioned myself to intercept. Without a moment's delay, I fired a clean, decisive shot. The boar collapsed instantly, ending the unexpected encounter. Our hunting day wrapped up with pride-worthy results. Early the next morning, we regrouped, reviewed the plan, and headed to the next hunting spot, a hill with sparse trees and a clearer line of sight. Not far in, I spotted the first target. Calmly steadying my rifle, I fired. Just one opening shot, and the boar dropped immediately. We drove onto a flat stretch and released the hunting dogs. They quickly caught the scent and tracked down a boar. I rushed into position, locked onto the target, and fired. Not bad. A single shot was all it took to bring down the boar. Soon after, the team located another wild boar, large and muscular. The two fell to my swift, well-placed shot. fairly large boar attempted to cross to the other side of the forest. I raised my rifle and fired. The boar was quickly brought down. The hunt escalated in scale. Thanks to the dog's pursuit, we spotted more wild boars with bristly black coats on the run. In the end, our efforts were rewarded. Several more boars were successfully taken down. As the hunt came to a close, the exhaustion was outweighed by the deep sense of accomplishment. Thank you for joining us on this wild adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.
couldn't sit still any longer when I saw my fields being ravaged by wild boars. Every time they came through, my family's entire harvest was wiped out. All the effort and care invested for more than half a year went down the drain. And this wasn't just my problem. The whole village, even the entire region in Georgia, was suffering because the wild boar population was becoming increasingly rampant. So, when I heard about a local hunting trip being organized, I decided to join. Not just for my own fields, but to help stop the spread of this invasive species. We arrived at the forest edge early in the morning. In front of us stretched a wide clearing covered in young grass, dotted with a few low shrubs. The air was fresh and pleasantly cool. Everyone was eager to begin the hunt. After about half an hour lying in ambush under a tree, the first target of the day emerged and immediately entered my sights. I gripped my rifle tightly, waiting for the moment it slowed its pace, then decisively pulled the trigger. A precise shot brought the wild boar down on the spot. A smoother start couldn't be hoped for. Elsewhere, my friend Michael and his team also spotted a small wild boar. Perhaps sensing the lurking danger, it hurriedly fled. Although Michael reacted quickly, unfortunately his bullet missed the target, allowing the prey to escape by a narrow margin. The whole team started moving deeper into the dense forest filled with tangled shrubs. At this point, the hunting dogs were released to track the wild boar scent. These four-legged friends were as sharp as owls and never disappointed me. Shortly after, a boar was driven out of the bushes by the dogs. Seizing a moment, I raised my gun, aimed straight, and pulled the trigger. The boar was hit and fell down right in front of the bush. A clean shot. By noon, the hunt inside the forest was still lively. Suddenly, a series of dog barks erupted from the trees ahead. I immediately became alert, straining to listen. Amidst the barking was the rustling of dry leaves. The wild boars were approaching. I gripped my gun tightly, ready to shoot. Here they come, not just one, but a whole herd. Seizing the opportunity, I fired continuously. The boars scattered in panic behind the bushes. Amid the chaotic scene, a few boars lay fallen. After a short lunch break, the hunt continued, this time in the low hills behind the forest. I chose a high vantage point for ambush, my eyes fixed on the open space ahead. Time seemed to freeze, and when a dark figure appeared through the bushes, I pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! Dust flew everywhere, but the boar was not hit. What a pity. Well, I'll wait for another chance. The day is still long. Moving to a barren land with no green trees, I stared intently. Then the chance for revenge came. A wild boar appeared. Although the shot was from quite a distance, I decided to take the risk. Looking through the scope, holding my breath, and gently squeezing the trigger. A precise shot, the boar collapsed. Even so, I could still hear my heart pounding in my chest. Such narrow victories always bring a breathless and satisfying feeling. Just as expected, another pitch-black wild boar appeared, busily rooting through the soil, completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. It seemed like it would be an easy shot. I calmly raised my rifle, took careful aim, and pulled the trigger, but the bullet only grazed the animal's back, startling it and sending it bolting away. Today's hunt ends here, though there were some missed shots that left a touch of regret. The thrill of stalking, pulling the trigger, and those heart-pounding moments remain unforgettable experiences. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow more thrilling hunts.
For me, this trip was more than just a regular hunt. It was a life or death mission. Although I fought, trained, and faced countless dangers during my time in the military, I've never encountered a creature as tough and persistent as the wild boars. That's why, in today's hunt, this swamp environment became a true battlefield. Holding my rifle tightly, I understood one thing clearly. Every decision, every shot must be precise. One bullet, one life. That's the only rule I needed to follow. Swamp-dwelling wild boars not only destroy the ecosystem, but also cause immeasurable damage to the surrounding environment. They wade through wetland areas, disrupt plant life, and tear up rice fields and gardens. Especially in the swamp, wild boars can easily hide and escape, making them incredibly difficult to pursue. Compared to land hunting, hunting wild boars in the swamp requires us to move more slowly and patiently, or risk slipping or losing our bearings. The swamp, a challenging environment, is ironically the perfect place for wild boars to hide, especially in murky mud pools or thick vegetation. During the journey through the swamp, we constantly battled strong currents and had to duck under tangled branches to keep the boat from crashing. Eventually, the small boat brought us to a completely unfamiliar area. Suddenly, one of my teammates spotted the silhouette of a large wild boar. Without hesitation, we climbed ashore and fired as soon as we saw it. The boar collapsed after a single shot. Soon after, we locked onto our next target, a giant boar weighing up to 120 kilograms. It was clear that this land was the ideal habitat for these monstrous wild pigs. That afternoon, I traveled alone down the river. The current had calmed since the morning. From a distance, I spotted my first target, a boar soaking in the mud. I carefully approached. Just as it stood up to flee, I took my shot and brought it down within seconds. Muddy wetlands like this are never short of boar activity. A fully grown wild boar was sunbathing nearby. It sensed danger and started to run, but my 2 quick shots ended that escape for good. Spotting a boar trying to escape, I stopped the boat and set up an ambush to cut it off. It panicked and turned to flee in the opposite direction, but it was too late. The gunshots echoed through the empty swamp, ending its escape. Leaving the forest and heading downstream to return, I noticed small muddy patches, clear signs that boars had passed through. I moved in and there it was. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger. The wild boar let out one agonizing cry before collapsing. With success in hand, I headed home, tension and satisfaction mixing after a challenging day in the swamp. After a night's rest, we were back at the swamp early in the morning. Wild boar tracks were visible all over the soft ground, deep prints showing where they had passed. We followed the tracks, and suddenly the dogs began barking, signaling the prey was near. I approached cautiously. As the black silhouette emerged, I seized the moment and pulled the trigger. Wow, just look at it, a massive wild boar with coarse fur and razor-sharp tusks. Our next target that day was a group of tenacious boars hiding in a swamp near a residential area. It didn't take long. The airboat brought us right to the first target. We immediately launched our attack, giving the boars no chance to react. They scattered in panic in every direction, trying to escape, but there was no getting away from our determined pursuit. Our hunting results kept piling up, and with every step, it became clear this hunt was not only tactical but also a test of patience and determination in our effort to control the wild boar population. Time flew by, and before we knew it, evening had fallen, but the battle wasn't over yet. Our agile hunting dogs led us to another wild boar. I moved in and, without hesitation, fired a decisive shot. The target dropped instantly. The dogs were outstanding today. Once again, they guided us to another boar. I quickly aimed and fired. The boar didn't even have time to react. It fell without a sound. It seems our skills have improved a lot through these hunting trips. These precise, decisive shots are not only the result of experience, but also the perfect blend of keen observation, patience, and refined tactics. Thank you for following this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.